Before we get started with this episode, I want to give you a quick peek behind the scenes at my family and how much we love Grandpa Beck's games. I'm going to show you this picture. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see it. This is a picture of some of my siblings dressed up as characters from one of Grandpa Beck's games called Skull King. It is a favorite around here. And when I showed Grandpa Beck this picture, he said it was the best he's ever seen. And he just loved it because it so accurately represents the characters in that game. So if you're a Skull King fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. We have almost all of Grandpa Beck's games. There's one that came out recently that we don't have yet, but we have all the rest of them and we love them. And I want to show you this one because I think it is so hilarious. This is Another Man's Treasure. And each card, oh my goodness, you don't even need to play the game. You can just spend the night reading the cards and laughing about them. So each one has a picture of an item that's owned by this couple, Mona and Paul. And each one has a quote from Mona and Paul about the item. I picked out this stack that I thought would be fun to share with you. And I don't know if there's a particular order for these, but they all go together, these particular cards. And I just find them hilarious. This one says, "This was not what I had in mind when Paul asked if I wanted to host pool parties." Okay. And then this one, "The mood ring was bright red the day Paul brought home that pool table," says Mona. This one from Paul, "This is why I didn't want a pool. It never would have stayed on." And it's a picture of Paul's special hair. Then this one, this is from Paul. "I bought this for Mona to apologize for the pool table." And then Mona says, "It didn't work." Oh my goodness. And then this one. This is Mona. "I bought this for our pool parties. It's never been used." It's a pool chair and oh my goodness, so funny. Okay, and then this one to me, and I know it won't mean much to anybody else. Well, it might mean something to you if you've seen this lamp before. Okay, look at this. This is a picture of a lamp. It's a lady, this cute, it's like Little Miss Muffet. And bright pink, fluffy dress, curls down the sides of her face, pink bows in her hair, big umbrella type lampshade above her head, and a little spider hanging down. Anyway, this lamp was in my grandparents' house. They literally had this lamp, and I loved it so much when I was a kid, and I could not believe it when I saw it in this game. So, anyway, Grandpa Beck's games have a special place in my heart, and I hope you enjoy this episode with him today. I'm Brittany Homer, and this is Raising Today's Kids, a Project Stand podcast. And today I have with me Brent Beck, who is sometimes better known as Grandpa Beck from Grandpa Beck's Games. And I'm so thrilled that he's agreed to join me today. I felt that he would be a great addition to our podcast because of just what he has provided to the world in the form of his games with all the memories that you get to make with family. And those things are sorely needed in our world today. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I would love to just give you a minute to introduce yourself and tell us about you and a little bit more about maybe what inspired you to get started creating these games.
Well, I'm pretty much an average guy, um, but my big goal in life as a career was to be an airline pilot, which I eventually did, and flew for 43 years and 28,000 hours, and took about 10 years of flying small planes to be able to get into Alaska Airlines. And then I did a full career there until I was 65. I have a wonderful wife and 5 married kids, and we just had our 21st grandchild 2 months ago. So we have a lot of fun family and a lot of really, focus the family. We've always been very family focused in all ways, and that's been kind of the main purpose of our life is to facilitate and make family life the best we could. And so that's the thing I'd most like to be known as a husband, father, and now grandfather. And so it's fun to be Grandpa Beck, not just to my 21 grandkids, but around the world to be Grandpa Beck. We do some cruises with senior people and people say, seems kind of funny calling you Grandpa Beck when I'm older than you, but we are. It's kind of it's a good title to have, and I love being a grandpa, and I love to be called Grandpa Beck, and so it's a pleasure, and we feel very breached the way it is. We have some games in 16 languages now. We've sold, we're into over 3 million games over the last years, and just see that as a foundation of where it can grow and extend further around the world, around the country.
That's amazing. Wow. 3 million. Wow. So, what sparked this idea to create games for the world?
Well, there's the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And 20 years ago, the airlines were all going bankrupt and losing pensions. And I'd done a couple of real estate projects, but real estate was down. So probably would be a good time to buy. But I was looking for something else I could do to maybe supplement my retirement someday or to do a side thing. And our oldest daughter, when she got married, her husband's Uncle Jack taught them the face card of golf game, the card game with golf with face cards. We played it for a lot of years, but I kept thinking, oh, it'd be so much better if it was illustrated and optimized and had face value scoring and was thematic. And so we started thinking about that. It took me years to go beyond thinking about it. We actually formed the company in 2008. It took us 4 years to be able to get a product ready to sell. The first illustrator that helped us out and the first order we made came back totally defective. So we had to trash those and start again. And the second order was tried in the USA, and it was 3 times as expensive as possible to sell. And then we came up with Cover Assets, a second game, and we decided to rebrand the box of the first game to match the second one. So we threw away all those boxes we paid $2 each for to rebrand and produce the second one over again to try and make it match when we went to the first convention. We got a brand instead of just 2 different games. And we went to Toy Fair New York in 2012 with 2 little games and spent 4 or 5 days standing in a little 10 by 10 booth, almost talking to nobody. But we made a few connections there, and we're persistent in trying. And it took us many years before it became more than an expensive hobby. It was something I was spending $1,000 a month on for a long time. But we believed it could work, mostly because we were naive. We didn't realize how hard it would be or how unlikely it is to go from self-distributing a couple games to anything worthwhile. But persistence has paid off, and I have kind of a fairly persistent personality that I get started on something and I'm not very likely to give up. And so I had really good help with my wife to be willing to help me out and also to have a great amount of contribution on the quality of the gameplay and the illustrations. And we finally got a hold of a friend of ours that we had known for years but had been moved out of the state, and she was working as an illustrator on a job by job basis, freelancing. And then she was willing to help us out. And now she's done all the games since then. So she's a big part of it, because without her, April Stott, we wouldn't have the rich look we have or the success we have.
Amazing. I feel like you have hit on 2 things that are really important to success. One is determination, or what was the word that you said that you have? Uh,
Persistence, or diligence.
persistence. Persistence. And then surrounding yourself with a great team. And I think that those are key to success in anything. And those are the things that we're trying to help parents instill in their kids, this idea of persistence and being able to work hard for what you want to accomplish and not giving up. And then also to surround yourself with good people that are going to help you accomplish those good goals that you have. So excellent.
My dad made us work hard in the garden and different things. And so I learned to work hard, and I had lots of jobs when I was a kid. And as a young adult, I did lots of labor jobs and dishwashing job and just all kinds of kind of grunt labor kind of work. And every job I learned things from. So I don't regret any of the dumb jobs I had, but they were ones that developed character and odd hours and things. But you learn from things. I think sometimes kids these days don't have enough work. They don't work in jobs and things as much as they used to. So I think there's things to be learned from working as well as
Yeah.
from sports and activities and things.
Yes. Oh, so true. Absolutely. Okay, so we've kind of already talked a little bit about how your games are full of references to your family. Like I met your son who Harry the Giant is based after, and I could see the similarities there. So talk a little bit about why you have all these references to your family in there and about what some of those references are in addition to what I've mentioned. And then why your family matters so much to you.
In our business, we've never had a master plan from the beginning that we followed because we're not educated business people, or so we kind of just learn as we go and explore ideas as we go. And when we were first doing Skull King, there's going to be 5 pirates, and then you have the 2 other cards. So we needed 7 faces, and I'm not sure if it was my wife or I said, "Well, we've got 7 faces in the family, and so let's use those." So we've now have added other faces because of the extra cards we've added, because the game has gone through different stages of development over the years as we keep re-releasing it with new things. But amazingly, our artist April could illustrate these characters, the pirates and mermaids and things, to look like the members of the family that they are, but to be also made thematic as well. And so I'm the Skull King on a much hairier, much more brutal day, and my wife is the Tigress, which is the card that allows you to either win or lose. So it's I call it the woman's prerogative card. She gets to, and it's a very valuable card. And then our 5 kids are the 5 pirates. And then one daughter-in-law is the mermaid that's holding the pearl, and one daughter-in-law is April, who's our artist. And then we just have a new expansion that just came out, and it has some more family members, another daughter-in-law, and our sales manager, and other people into it. So it's kind of weird that we did all that. Plus, on the purple suit, there's a pirate map, and the pirate map shows an island, and there's an X on the island, and that shows the island we live on, and the X marks the spot on the island where we live.
Oh,
So it's a real island, not just an imaginary one, and it's up in Washington State. So initially, just kind of a thing we like to do, but it's been kind of really fun to have that be personal instead of just generic. And it's not normal. It's not a normal thing for a company to do. But around the world in 16 languages, people are playing that game, and our family representation is there, and we get a kick out of that. It's pretty
yeah.
fun.
And I think it's endearing to families around the world. They see, here's this, I mean, for if they know that these are based on you, that it feels, I don't know, it's fun and endearing. So,
When I tell people, they always get kind of an awe out of it. But we don't. It is not necessarily published. People have to kind of learn about it, but it gives them kind of a hidden fun aspect. And we do have a lot of little Easter egg things hidden in even the pictures. There's little backstories for all the reasons that the characters are what they are, and all the games have little twists and turns and little Easter eggs hidden in the pictures and things, which makes it fun for us.
oh, absolutely. I would love to just sit around with your family and just hear the backstory of every card in the games. It's fantastic. I love it. So your kids are all grown and you said they're all married, right? So, and you have these 21 grandchildren. I imagine, well, I know that the world has changed a lot since you were raising your kids. Let's talk a little bit about that and how it's changed and what concerns you about some of the changes that are less than positive in your eyes.
It certainly is concerning. Um, when we raised our kids, we really wanted them to have a lot of social connection, but we didn't want them to have steady boyfriends and girlfriends when they were in their teen years. So when our oldest daughter was a teen, we added a big addition onto our house. It was a 20 by 40 garage with a 20 by 40 one room party room above that. It had big open beams and a big fireplace at one end, hardwood floors that I'd salvaged out of junior high they tore down. And this room, this 1,000 square foot of recreational space with a sport court behind it in the backyard, became a center of activities for our kids. We hosted hundreds of events, between dances for 85 kids and parties all the time. After every school event, they'd come over there and take pictures and eat treats. And the very first event we had there was our oldest daughter's 16th surprise birthday party. And the last event we had there before we moved was our youngest son's wedding reception. So it took
Wow.
the kids through that whole era of social activities. And when I was a 15 or 16-year-old, there was some girls that I knew in our area that hosted some parties at their house. And they taught me some kind of chair games that we learned, group kind of interactive games and chairs. And I use those same games hundreds of times over the last 55 years. With every kind of party, from young adults to teens to adults. And we would play with our kids at the parties. We would have these parties, and we'd be up there playing the games with them, or up there with the dance with them. And we had We had these big speakers, and we had a disco ball hanging from the roof of the rec room, and we had music, sound lights, everything. So we had these pretty rocking parties, and the kids would have their friends over from the church and from the community, and we just had a great time. So I think that a lot of people don't know how to party in a fun way anymore, and they don't get together with a group and interact. They're texting their friend instead of having them over, and or they're not going out on a hike together. They're sitting in their room talking. Like one night, years ago, we had a game night with one of my wife's cousins' family, with the cousin and her husband and some of his extended family. We were playing games, and one girl who was probably 13, instead of participating with us around the table, she sat on the couch with her feet up on the back of the couch, and her head was down on the back of on the couch, and she's looking at her phone the whole evening. So the rest of us are over there playing Skull King or something, and she's looking at her phone for that 2 hours. And it wasn't my family. I couldn't say, "Hey, Linda, come over here and play." But I just thought about the difference between her uncle and aunt and whatever that were playing with us, and her just sitting there absorbed in her phone, and the social benefit that she's lacking by not having those ups and downs and those challenges and those high moments of playing a game together. So that is stuck with me, that example.
Yeah. I love that you've created this room for your kids and their friends and everybody to come and spend time, 1,000 feet of recreational space. But I also love that your games, I mean, they come in a box this size. They're they're small enough to play anywhere, and you don't need a big space to get together and really interact eye to eye and face to face with all of the social cues and the body language and the and how you share emotion in that physical space together, when you're playing games like this. So yeah, there's a stark contrast, I feel like, from, it sounds like, how you raised your kids and how a lot of kids are being raised today. And sometimes I feel like parents don't even know how to, like, they see the problem, they see that their kids are glued to their screens, but they don't know how to stop that, they don't know how to address that. Tell me why it concerns you that, the girl in the space that was just on her phone while you guys were playing. Tell me some of the concerns that you see with the rising generation being kind of glued to screens a lot.
I'm not a social scientist, but even just common knowledge, even though there are many studies that demonstrate this, it's common understanding. Common sense is not a bad place to start from, that it's dangerous and it's not positive. And there's many studies showing that that's the case. Um, so there's a real need for people to connect and to learn what it takes to be able to interact and to go with the flow and to take a loss well and to win without gloating, to be able to not get all depressed if you lose a hand or a part of a game, but to think of it as just an experience. And of course, we're all competitive, and it's more fun to win than lose. And sometimes the thing about a card game is there's enough luck involved. The smartest person in the room is not always going to win, and because I'm not usually the smartest person in the room, it gives me a chance to not be, like I was playing chess, I would always lose, because I'm not that good of a chess player. But with cards, some luck involved. But I find that our central goal is to get real people to get around with other real people and to have some real fun and to make some real relationships. In every one of our games, there's a little recipe card. On one side, it's a collectible recipe card. The backside has a little picture of us with 5 of our grandkids on our lap, and there's a little message that talks about the value of relationships and the importance of those relationships. And in the end, at the end of this life, the only thing we really take with us is our knowledge and our relationships. And any relationship that matters, anything that matters in life is really tied to a relationship, whether it's a relationship with our loved ones, the community, or with our God. That's the things that really matter, because everything other than that is just kind of a superfluous somewhat to the relationships and the memories we form with those people whom we share our pathway.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you phrase that. That's beautiful. So, and speaking of, being good winners and good losers, you reminded me of Cover Your Assets. I have a 13-year-old son who loves that game. That's probably his favorite one out of all your games. Actually, maybe out of all games. And I used to love to play it with him. Used to love to play it with him because I think he is on like a 2+ year winning streak with me. that every time we play, he wins. And I have had moments where I've had to dig deep and try to be mature about it because it's painful to win or to lose so many times. And he's learned to be a good sport about winning and not gloat too much. He feels a little bit compassion toward me, but I love what it's done for our relationship. That, I'm much older than him. I've had a lot more life experience. I am smarter in a lot of ways, but he has this trump card, this game that he's always going to win me. And maybe one day I'll win him again, even though I've tried every different strategy I can think of. But anyway, I just love what it's done for our relationship and that we have this connection on this game that maybe doesn't turn out how I want it to, but I'm learning how to manage my emotions. He's learning as well. And it has been such a positive, strengthening thing for us. I'd love to hear if you have other stories of experiences with maybe people who play your games or with your own family where it has strengthened relationships, or what kind of feedback you've gotten from people about your games.
I put my phone number on the bottom of every box, in the back of every rule book, so I get lots of feedback, and I love it. I just got a call this morning from some people over in France who were playing, and I got a call the other day from some people in Mexico that were playing, and I've had calls from all over the world, and I love that. I'll say the first two stories from our very first few months in business that have been replicated thousands of times. But we were at this trade show for owners of toy stores and game stores. And this mom and dad were there, and they had their two kids with them. They were probably 11 and 13 or something. And the kids did not think this was a cool place to be. They were not having fun. They were just, you could just feel the negative energy between these kids and their parents being drugged around looking at toys and stuff. It was not cool. But in this case, we had a little table set up behind the kind of show table. So my wife says, come back and play. So they came back behind the table to a small round table, and she talked them into playing cover assets for a few minutes with her. And I was watching. She was playing. And it was so amazing to see in just 2 or 3 minutes all that negative energy, all that contention, all that I'm too cool to be at this convention with you drifted away, and they were laughing and having fun together. And so that was very profound to me. And then a few months later, a woman called me and says, I've got to buy some of your games for my little store in this KOA campground I run. And she says, my 17-year-old son used to just be in his room all the time on the computer. And then once we started getting this game, which was the golf game, which is now milling around, he says, every night, as soon as we get home, he says, let's play the game. And so here he was 17 years old. And now instead of being in the room by himself on the computer, he's playing a game with his mom every night in the evening. And this has been 12 years since I had this happen. And I think, what if they didn't make that connection? I mean, he's almost 30 now, and I never met him, but I think they made a connection in his senior year in high school, which they may not have had otherwise, and that their whole life experience may have been altered by the fact that they played together. And I hear that from people when people come up to me now in shows. We've had 13 years in business. People tell me how many they've spent countless hours together, and this is a big part of their kind of family time together. This is the time they really connect and bond and interact and learn and grow together. And for us to have this opportunity to be that kind of involvement with people's lives, it's just really honored to be able to have that connection. I just sometimes I pinch myself because there's very few ways you can really become a part of a stranger's life in a positive way. I mean, what opportunity do we usually have? By by a blessing, we have this chance to have an influence on people's lives, and it's a great honor for us.
It's a gift for you and it's a gift for all the rest of us as well. It's so great. So, okay, I love those stories and those examples of how it has blessed families on a very, I mean, you're talking individually, one person, one family at a time. So, we live in a divisive and contentious world. I do like to blame social media algorithms for a lot of the divisiveness in our world, but there is so much that we can do to be better listeners and to create a ripple effect of kindness and generosity and goodness and good communication and being able to love each other even when we disagree with each other. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on how games like yours, and not just your games, but like I guess your games kind of represent a way of life, a philosophy of how to treat people and how to work well together. But tell me more about your thoughts on how games like yours or that way of life is making a difference in our contentious world.
Well, first, I think because of the 24-hour news cycle and because of the immersion in media, I think people get a wrong impression of the way the world really is. I think
Mm,
in the reality, the world is not as contentious as it seems because when you deal with real people, then we're all just normal people. People assume there's a lot of division because they see all these, people that are interacting together in a negative way because some group is protesting and someone's yelling at the other person. But in my experience, when you're at a personal level, it's not that contentious. A couple of stories. One, when I was an airline pilot, and people be deplaning off the plane, and I'm standing at the front door thanking them for flying with us, and I'd see this wide variety of people, all that were sharing the same space peacefully. They're all going to do the trip. I flew them all. I greeted them all. I didn't care who they were or what they looked like. So, and when I deal with people, one really benefit of our experience with the business is we've gone to 6 or 8 or 10 different conventions a year, either for individual kind of retail sales or talking to owners or game conventions, all kinds of things. We meet people all over the country and now all over the world because I go to a thing in Germany every October with 220,000 people there. It's called Essen, Germany. And we go to this big thing in Gen Con every year in August, which has 90,000 people at it. Um, and in reality, even though everybody's different, people have their prejudices or their preferences. When you get together, someone person to person, we're all just people. I remember one time we were at an event where there was maybe 10 people or 8 people around the table, this big table. We were playing Cover Your Assets early on. One guy was a kind of a really buttoned up executive who owned some toy stores. Some guys were very tattooed up with people had different hair colors, different manners of dress. I'm sure a lot of different preferences on lifestyles, but we were all having a fun time together. Nobody cared about someone's look or background. We were just people enjoying time together. And so I think down deep, we're all just good people, and we shouldn't believe what the TV shows us, and we should just treat everyone like they're a normal person. Who cares if they have some kind of tattoo or piercing or manner of dress? Some people at these game conventions dress up like it's Halloween every day, But I'm not that much into Halloween, but I still you get a kick out of it. So I think we just should assume the best about people, and reality will probably be right most of the time.
I love that perspective. And I love that image of, you're gathering together to play Cover Your Assets with the biggest variety that you could think of, and how it didn't matter. Didn't matter where you come from, what your background is, what your lifestyle is like, that you have this in common. That's beautiful.
Yeah, if you'd gone to a some kind of a political event, or if you'd gone to someone's protesting on the street and you're standing across the opposite sides because you're on one side, they're on the other side, then you could maybe could be contentious. But most of the time, we can put those differences aside and just be friends. I just think we're all just good people, all trying to have a happy life, and we should all just help each other along the way.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. All right. Well, I would love to know if you have any advice for parents who are trying to raise their kids in this digital world. What would you say to them to, from your perspective as a grandpa and as a creator of games that have changed the lives of millions of families?
Well, I really first have to say that I'm an imperfect person. I'm not any kind of a perfect example on anything, but I do feel good about the effort we put in to raising our kids, and some of the choices we made. We supported them in all their interests, but we didn't allow them all. We have 5 kids. We didn't allow them all to do 3 sports a year and 5 different side things. We limited some of those activities because we really wanted to make sure that we had time for family dinner most nights. And I had to travel. I was gone sometimes, so I wasn't home every night. But my wife would still have everybody together at dinner time, and there's sometimes, of course, but when they had a band concert or something, but it wasn't like we go in five different directions all the time, which sometimes can happen these days. So I think it's important to support your kids, but not allow so much distraction that you don't have any family life. And it's also important to play and have fun with your family and to communicate and talk. I think that my kids could talk to me about anything. I certainly was willing to talk to them about anything, and still as adults, I think we have a very open communication channel, and they know that they know that we care about them because we've done so much to with them over the years, and we did camping and all kinds of fun things, and did all the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and band and sports and things, and we were there. I because of my schedule as a pilot, I was able to work my schedule around my training to get time off to go on every scout outing, every scout camp, and every fifth grade beach trip, and most
Amazing.
most field trips. And I was a PTA president for a year, and I was leader in scouts and school and church and things. On the band committee, along with my wife as well. She was our Cub Scout leader, and we've been very much just fully wrapped up with the kids. And I know it's difficult these days because some people have to have two jobs and extra hours and things. And we in our kitchen in our house we raised the kids. There was kind of a fireplace shelf next to it, and we had a basket there full of Ziploc bags of card games because the
Yeah.
card games we had back then were all made in the cheap little paper boxes, and they were all ended up in Ziploc bags. But we'd play a quick game of Uno or Phase 10 or something, often. And that's one of the reasons why we used better quality packaging, because we didn't want to have the games all be in Ziploc bags for our games. But I think you have to really invest with kids, and you have to care, and you have to talk, and you have to support them. And another thing is you have to also help them instill good values. And I think our church kind of history and the values we talked about with them, I think help them to have good values and have shared values, because that was really important to our unity, that we share the same values. I think someone mentioned once in a podcast I listened to that the different race, ethnic, or culture things we have are much less important to unifying than having shared values. And
Mhm.
and that's something we're kind of lacking in maybe in society now, is because as a culture, North America, as a Western culture, we're losing some of our values. And that's the most important thing for unity, more so than ethnicity, color, or religion, because you can have the same shared values with some of different ethnicity, culture, or religion, or race. But if you don't have the same things that are important, then it's a little bit different than if you have the same things that are important, like family values and cohesion, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. Great advice. Thank you. It makes me want to put a basket out in my kitchen, put a bunch of card games in it, and just play one when the kids get home from school. They don't have to take very long, and just to reconnect with them every day. I love that, and everything else you shared. I'd love to know, what would be your final message of hope to parents? What gives you hope, and what would you encourage them to do to get their own hope?
I believe that the future is bright in the world, and that things are much better than people think they are. We live in such a time of opportunity, and such a time of really relative freedom and relative peace compared to times in the past. I think about like my wife's grandparents growing up during the Depression or during World War II and things like that. So we should think positively. We should take advantage of resources we have, but not be all downtrodden about it, because we live in a wonderful world with many choices. And if we make good choices, because a lot of people are not making such good choices, those of us who make good choices can rise to the top like cream on top of milk, and so which no one knows about these days because no one has whole milk. But if people, if especially if kids keep straight and work hard, they're going to rise up quickly, because a lot of people are just kind of laggard, and so look ahead and be optimistic and work hard and be the leader, and don't be the one that's waiting for someone else to make things good for you. And if you don't have friends, have someone over and make friends. If the kids are kind of feeling like they're isolated, be the place where the kids can come to. Even if you have a small house, an apartment, whatever. Doesn't matter where you live, because no one cares. Just everybody has a kitchen table of some kind. Sit down and break the ice by having a game night. Make sure you have some refreshments. Be willing to talk about things. I think if you put the time into family, it can yield a lot of good fruits. And it's not easy. I mean, there's nothing easy about being a spouse or a parent, but it's worth working at and worth sticking with. And you just can't have you can't entertain anything but success. You have to just keep focused and make the most of it and deal with there's challenges. I mean, a lot of challenges with health and things these days. So you have to just be positive. I'm just I have all these little sayings I memorized when I was a kid. Winners never quit and quitters never win. When the going is tough, the tough get going. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I mean, I have a dozen, 20 different little mantras that I got in my head, and I believe that we can kind of make our life what we make it.
I love it. Well, I feel hope too. Thank you for everything that you've shared today. This is not an advertisement for Grandpa Beck's games, but I will say that they have been such a blessing to our family, and I have loved them, and we've been blessed by the family memories that we've made and the time spent off screens together, and not just with our immediate family, but extended family and friends as well. So, thank you so much for what you've created and for what you've shared today.
It's funny how people when they see me, some people just will, in a conversation will say I love you, or they'll end a text with love you. It's like they don't even know me, but the fact that they've developed close relationships through their family by spending time together, and our games being a vehicle for them spending time together and improving those relationships, they felt this love for each other that spills over to our company because of the fact that we've helped facilitate some of this good relationships. And so it's really all about relationships. And if you grow together, you're going to be happy. And the old saying, "Play together, stay together," is trite, but it has meaning because if you're just watching TV together every night, you're not really making a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Grandpa Beck. Appreciate you and all you've done, and keep up the good work.